The floating court of Mars Zone 12 was made of red glass and silver walls. From the outside, it looked like a flying diamond above the Martian sky. Inside, it felt cold, not just because of the metal floors, but because of the people. They were all dressed in smooth black uniforms, white robes or sharp silver suits. Everyone looked expensive. Everyone except one woman. Dr. Celine Ray stepped through the doors, her soft blue scrubs standing out like paint on steel. Her skin was dark, her eyes calm. Her hair was tied back in a neat twist, and in her hands, she held a glowing silver case. As she walked, the crowd stared. Whispers followed behind her like wind. She came in hospital clothes? Who let her in with that thing? Does she think she's at a clinic? She didn't respond. She just walked slowly, her boots quiet on the polished floor. The guards didn't stop her. They scanned her ID and let her through. But one of them gave her a strange look, half fear, half confusion. The judge, seated high in a levitating chair, raised one eyebrow. She was young, maybe early 30s, but clearly rich and powerful. Her robe sparkled with small gold threads, and her hair floated slightly, a sign of high-tech implants. She looked down at Celine like someone looks at a bug under glass. "Doctor or not," she said loudly, her voice echoing through the room. "This is a courtroom, not a surgery bay." Laughter spread around the room. The lawyers smirked. Even some reporters chuckled behind their visors. Celine didn't react. She simply reached the center of the courtroom and placed her silver case gently on the desk in front of her. The judge leaned forward. "What's that?" Celine looked up. "Evidence," she said quietly. One of the bailiffs stepped forward. "Miss, we need to check that for security." "You don't want to open that," Celine said firmly, not moving. The bailiff froze. Her voice was calm, but there was something behind it, a weight, a warning. Again, people laughed, but it was quieter this time. The judge rolled her eyes. "You're wasting our time. This is a case about biotech rights, not a medical emergency." Celine's eyes scanned the room. Her gaze moved from the judge to the crowd, then stopped. She saw someone in the back row. A man, clean suit, dark shades. He wasn't a lawyer, he wasn't a guard, and he wasn't listed in the witness files. But he was watching her, not the case. Celine's heartbeat sped up. She looked back at the judge, her voice still quiet. "I am not here to waste time, Your Honor. I'm here because a child's life was stolen." The room shifted. The judge scoffed. That child was part of a legal adoption process by Terragene Corp. The parents signed the papers. They didn't know. Celine cut in, still calm. They didn't know the child would be used for organ cloning. Murmurs broke out in the courtroom. The defense lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we object to this nonsense." Celine tapped the silver case. A soft hum filled the air. The top of the case glowed, then slowly opened by itself. Inside was a clear cube. Floating in the middle of the cube, a beating red light. "What is that?" the judge asked. "The child's heart signal," Celine answered. "Still alive. Still inside a tank at Terragene's lab. I have direct feed from the chamber." Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge narrowed her eyes. "How did you get access to that?" Celine didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a small, flat device from her pocket and placed it next to the case. Instantly, holograms burst out, video logs, medical reports, and a voice recording from a crying mother. Everyone watched in silence. Then the judge slammed her desk. "This evidence is not confirmed." "I can confirm it," said a deep voice from the gallery. Everyone turned. The man in the clean suit removed his glasses. A few people gasped. Even the judge looked shocked. The man nodded to Celine. "You're clear to proceed, Agent Bray." Now the courtroom truly went silent. "Agent?" someone whispered. Celine's eyes stayed on the judge. "You asked why I wore scrubs," she said. "Because I still believe in saving lives, even in places like this." The judge didn't speak. She just stared at the cube and the slow, steady beat of the child's living heart inside it. And for the first time, the room felt truly cold. The courtroom was frozen in silence. The judge sat stiff in her chair, Her eyes locked on the glowing cube. The red heartbeat inside pulsed softly, like a child's whisper. It didn't belong here, not in this sharp, cruel room. But now, no one could look away. Dr. Celine Ray didn't flinch. Her hands rested beside the case, calm and steady. But behind her stillness was the fire of someone who had waited too long for this moment. The man in the back row stood taller. His glasses were gone, and now everyone recognized him. Agent Cale Moreau, Internal Affairs, Mars Security Command. The room buzzed with confusion and fear. The defense lawyer took a shaky step forward. Your Honor, we didn't know this. This wasn't part of any disclosed file. She isn't even listed as an official witness. Agent Moreau spoke, his voice like metal. That's because Dr. Ray was working undercover. She's been investigating illegal biotech trades in Martian colonies for over 2 years. He turned toward the judge. And this court was one of her last targets. The judge's face went pale. Selene tapped the holo device again. This time, a screen floated in front of the judge. It showed a digital signature, the judge's own. You signed off on the fast-track approval for Terrigene's license, Selene said quietly. 5 children went missing in the next 10 days. You said it was coincidence. The judge's lip trembled. I didn't know. Selene didn't blink. Didn't know or didn't look. Gasps filled the room again. The audience shifted in their seats. Some reporters began live streaming. The camera drones zoomed in on the judge's shaking hands. Order! The judge barked suddenly. Her voice cracked. But no one listened. Agent Moreau walked to the front. Dr. Ray, you may present your final report. Selene nodded. She pulled a thin strip of paper from her sleeve. It was old-fashioned, strange in such a digital court, but it was symbolic. She placed it on the table. Witness statement, she said. Signed by the mother of the child. Sworn under truth code. She stepped aside as the courtroom AI read the statement aloud. The mother's voice trembled with grief. They told me my baby would go to a better home. I never knew he was sold to a lab. They lied to me. Please, if someone hears this, bring him home. A few people wiped their eyes. Even the bailiff, who had laughed earlier, now stood with her head lowered. The judge looked trapped. Her authority was falling apart. Selene took a breath. Your Honor, I'm submitting a motion to freeze all Terrigene activities and to investigate your role in authorizing them. You can't do that, the judge said, rising from her chair. I'm the judge here. Agent Moreau raised a badge. Not anymore. You're under review, effective now. He turned to the guards. Escort her to the inquiry chamber. The guards hesitated, then moved. The judge stepped back, shaking her head. This is a setup. I'm from high command. My family, my father is. No one's above justice, Selene said softly. As the judge was led away, the room remained quiet. Selene picked up the glowing case and walked back toward the exit. As she passed the reporters, someone called out. Dr. Ray, or should we say Agent Ray, why did you do this alone? She paused. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of weight, because the people who were supposed to care didn't. She stepped through the tall doors, the cube still pulsing in her hands. Behind her, the courtroom was no longer laughing. It was finally listening. Outside the courtroom, red lights blinked across the sky of Mars Zone 12. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance as Dr. Celine Ray walked through the glass corridor of the judicial tower. In her arms, the glowing cube still pulsed, like a living heart. Agent Cale Moreau followed beside her, his hand hovering near his sidearm. We need to get that to the vault, he said. If what's inside is what I think it is. Selene glanced at him. It's worse than that. They stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, Selene pressed her palm to the cube's surface. A soft hum responded. The lights flickered. The elevator didn't move. Cale raised an eyebrow. Why did you stop the lift? Because there's something you need to see, she said, turning toward him. You trust me, right? Cale hesitated, then nodded. Always. Selene tapped the cube. A small hatch slid open, revealing a tiny holographic projector. It blinked. then started showing a live feed. It was shaky, filmed by a hidden lens. The image was clear. Children, locked in cages, machines hooked into their backs. Kale's face darkened. Where is this? Sector 7, beneath Terrigene's old research dome, she said. They moved the whole program underground when Earth's law tightened inspection. The judge knew about it. She helped erase the records. Kale swore under his breath. This is human trafficking, medical abuse, genetic theft. On Mars. It's happening in every colony, Celine said. But this was our chance to start breaking the chain. She closed the hatch. And now that the judge is suspended, we can move without obstruction. The elevator started again. When the doors opened, they stepped into a secure hallway lined with metal walls and retinal scanners. Guards stepped aside as Celine and Kale approached the vault room. Inside, a team of analysts and engineers were already waiting. Put the cube in containment, said one officer. But Celine held it tighter. Not yet. I want to finish the mission myself. Kale frowned. Celine, protocol says. I started this alone, she said firmly. And I won't let this evidence vanish in red tape. Kale saw the fire in her eyes. Then I'm going with you. They turned and walked back out. Meanwhile, word of what happened in the courtroom was spreading across Mars. Screens lit up in homes, in cafes, even inside school pods. The image of Celine holding the glowing cube replayed everywhere. Her face became a symbol, not just of justice, but of hope. In the shadows of Sector 7, hidden security feeds buzzed to life. Someone was watching. Inside a cold control room, a woman in a silver cloak stared at the monitors. Her face was half covered by a mask. Dr. Celine Ray, she said softly. You just made yourself a problem. She turned to a tall figure standing in the corner, half man, half machine. His arms clicked with metal joints. His eyes glowed faintly red. Send the reclaimer. Back in transit pod Z2, Celine and Kale raced towards Sector 7. As the pod moved, Celine opened a small vial from inside her medpack. Inside it was a rare Martian flower, glowing blue, the last one of its kind. Kale looked at it, puzzled. What's that for? Celine smiled faintly. My mother used to say, when the last flower blooms, the truth comes with it. Kale blinked. That's poetic. She was a farmer. Poetic was all she had. Suddenly, the lights in the pod flickered. Then the pod jerked, hard. Kale drew his weapon. We're not alone. Celine grabbed the cube and secured it inside her belt pack. The pod came to a stop in a dark tunnel. Smoke hissed from the ceiling. Outside the window, something was moving. Something big. Kale aimed his blaster. Get ready. Celine placed her hand on the cube and whispered, don't let them take it. Deep under Mars Zone 12, in a hidden lab beneath the red rock, Celine stood in front of a thick steel door. The glowing case was still in her hands. Behind her, Agent Kale and 3 more operatives waited, weapons ready. Are you sure this is the place? Kale asked quietly. Celine nodded. This is where they kept the others. I was here once, as a child. The agents looked at each other, surprised. Celine stepped forward. A scanner flashed over her face. Then the door clicked open with a deep metallic hiss. The hallway inside was cold, white, and silent. Machines lined the walls. Machines used to test, scan, and sometimes destroy. On the far wall, faded writing said, Property of Terrigene Corp., Sector 9 Lab. They moved quickly. No alarms. No guards. But Celine could feel the cameras watching. In the center room, they found what they came for, a cryopod. Inside, a little girl, maybe 5 years old, slept in a glass coffin. Her vitals blinked green. Another victim, another secret child. Kale stared. She's alive. Celine touched the glass gently. Barely. She's like the one in the case. Terrigene is building something. Genetically advanced children. But only the rich ever see the benefits. Where are the scientists? Kale asked. Celine looked around. Gone, or hiding. They know we're coming. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Then, Darkness. Red emergency lights clicked on. The steel door behind them slammed shut. Kale raised his weapon. Trap. A voice echoed through the chamber. Cold. Robotic. Dr. Celine Ray. Unauthorized access detected. You were terminated from Project Genesis. Leave the pod and surrender. Celine turned toward the ceiling camera. No, she said firmly. You terminated the children. You buried the truth. I'm done being quiet. A hiss of gas sprayed from the walls. The team put on masks, but Celine didn't move. Instead, she opened the glowing case. The other child, the one from court, lay inside, connected to biotech sensors. Celine placed the case next to the cryopod and linked the two systems. What are you doing? Kale asked. Waking them up. Together. The machines buzzed. Lights turned green, then blue, then white. The pod opened. The little girl inside opened her eyes. So did the child in the case. For a moment, everything stood still. Then the lights exploded. The cryopod surged with energy, more than any child should survive. The girls floated, yes, floated, between the machines, their eyes glowing the same soft blue as the pulse in Celine's chest. Celine, Kale whispered. What are they? Celine didn't answer right away. Her eyes filled with tears. Their hope. Suddenly, the red lights turned off. The steel door creaked open. No voice spoke again. The building surrendered. Far above Mars Zone 12, in a golden orbiting tower, the Terrigene boardroom was filled with silence. A giant screen showed shaky footage from the underground lab, the moment when both children rose into the air, glowing with strange blue energy. Executives stared, pale and speechless. Then a cold voice broke the silence. She activated them, said Director Rice, his silver cybernetic eye twitching. I warned you all about Celine Ray. She was terminated years ago, said another. How did she get back into the system? Reese leaned forward. Because you didn't finish the job. And now the prototypes are awake. Two of them, someone whispered. That's enough to expose everything. Reese turned to the room. Call the reclaimer. Back underground, Celine stood between the two glowing girls. Their blue light filled the room like sunrise after a long night. Kale stared in awe. They're linked. Like they know each other. They do, Celine said softly. They were made from the same DNA strand. My mother's. And mine. Kale's eyes widened. You mean? Yes, she said. They're my daughters. Silence fell. They were taken from me years ago, Celine continued. I thought they were dead. But Terrigene kept them alive, experimented, modified, turned them into living keys. To what? Kale asked. Celine turned to the walls, to the master vault, the one that holds the black box, the list of every illegal child experiment Terrigene did across the solar system. Names, locations, data, all of it. Suddenly, the ground shook. A long, deep rumble echoed through the lab. Then came the sound of boots. Heavy ones. Metal scraped the floor as something massive stepped into the hallway. A giant figure appeared, 7 feet tall, wrapped in dark armor with glowing red eyes. The reclaimer, Kale muttered. Celine stepped in front of the girls. He's here to take them. The reclaimer raised a massive cannon-like weapon. You will surrender the assets. No, Celine said. Not again. The reclaimer fired, but the blast stopped midair, frozen by a blue barrier between the girls and the team. Their combined energy pulsed, stronger than ever. Kale fired his own weapon, hitting the reclaimer's armor, but it barely left a mark. We can't win in a shootout, he shouted. I'm not trying to fight him, Celine replied. I'm trying to wake up the truth. She placed her hand on the cube. The girls reached toward her. The glowing light expanded, covering the entire room. Suddenly, every screen, every camera, every Terrigene drone across Mars flickered, then turned on. A broadcast began. Celine's voice echoed across the Martian colonies. This is Dr. Celine Ray. You've heard lies about who I am, about what I carry. But now, you will see the truth. Live images of the children in cages, the experiments, the stolen DNA, the faces of crying mothers. All of it streamed in real time. Across Mars, and then Earth, people watched in horror. The judge from the courtroom saw it. Her hands trembled. Inside Terrigene's tower, executives panicked. Screens chattered. Systems overloaded. And the reclaimer? He paused. His red eyes flickered, then dimmed. He slowly dropped his weapon. What's happening? Kale asked. He was built by them, Celine said. But the truth breaks even machines. For a long moment, silence fell. The glowing light faded. The girls floated gently to the ground, holding hands. They smiled for the first time. Salimi knelt beside them. I've got you now. I'm never letting go again. Martian court was packed. Every screen in the solar system had just shown what Terrigene had done. Live experiments, stolen DNA, and the pain of innocent families. Now, the world was watching the woman who exposed it all. Dr. Celine Ray walked into the courtroom again. But this time, she wasn't in scrubs. She wore a deep black coat marked with the sigil of the Solar Medical Tribunal, the highest authority for doctors across planets. Her two daughters walked beside her, holding hands, their eyes calm and bright. Behind them came Kale, and beside him, the reclaimer. Yes, the same machine built to destroy her had now chosen to protect her. He walked silently, but his red eyes now glowed soft white. Everyone turned when the judge entered. It was the same woman who had mocked Celine days ago. But now, her lips were tight, her hands shook. Celine stood tall. Your Honor, she began. You once asked me what right I had to walk into your courtroom wearing scrubs. Today, I bring my answer. Gasps filled the room. The Global Earth-Mars Medical Council had just sent a transmission. It declared Celine Ray, the chief genetic rights advisor, the youngest in history. Kale stepped forward. And here's more. Terrigene Corp has officially collapsed. Its leaders have been arrested on Earth. The crowd began to clap, but Celine raised her hand. I don't want applause, she said. I want justice. She walked to the middle of the room and gently placed a glass cube on the judge's desk. Inside it, every stolen genetic file, every name, every story. These are the children they hurt, and these are the names of every parent who never got answers. The judge swallowed hard. You could destroy governments with this, she whispered. Salimi nodded. Or heal them. Outside the court, people gathered in the thousands. Screens lit up across colonies. Celine's speech, her fight, her bravery. They didn't see just a doctor. They saw a mother, a warrior, a symbol. Later that night, in a quiet garden dome on Mars, Celine sat beside her daughters. They were watching the stars. Kale joined her. They'll write books about what you did. Celine smiled. Let them write. I just want them to grow up free. One of the girls looked up. Mom, are we really safe now? Celine wrapped her arms around them. You're safe now. Forever. Behind them, the reclaimer stood silently, now guarding life instead of ending it. Far away, on a small Earth broadcast channel, a reporter spoke. A woman in scrubs walked into court to defend her case, and walked out changing the fate of millions. They laughed at her, mocked her. But in the end, her identity didn't just silence a room. It woke up an entire world.